Welcome to Talk Spirit Jazz. I'm Brother Craig.
And I'm Brother Lasana.
You know, all the musicians in my days had nicknames. My name was Satchel Mouth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Duke Ellington. I have a band. I think the future is going to be all of this wonderful music that has been inspired by the distant rumors out of Africa, transplanted to America and the Caribbean.
I like to try to sing like a horn.
The accents actually say bebop.
You have to have yourself together as a person to express yourself in music.
And the important thing is not to play where people have to intellectualize your music. Because music is like a river. It's supposed to flow and wash away the dust of everyday life.
I believe that men are here to grow themselves into the best goods that they can be. This is my belief.
Jazz is only a white man's word he gave to music that he couldn't play, so we don't use that word.
From my perspective as a kid, funk, it felt like jazz. It was the same thing to me, same music with two different words.
Jazz is freedom. I want you to smile. Jazz is, as Abby Lincoln would put it, a spirit.
How you doing, Lasana?
Good, Craig. How you feeling now, brother?
All right, feeling good. And I know we got another exciting topic to explore in this music.
Absolutely.
And that is drummers. We want to talk about drummers, the people that keep the beat and the rhythm of the music. Sometimes
they're the heartbeat of the band,
yeah.
The drummer.
And sometimes, they function mostly as side musicians, but often within the jazz context, we have people that are leaders in the music, composers, arrangers. Often they're also double as pianists and multi-instrumentalists. And certainly, just like saxophonists and other instrumentalists, they played an important part. So let's get into it, begin to explore jazz drummers.
And the first one we're going to come up with is the master drummer himself, Mr. Art Blakey, because Art is important because he exemplifies the tradition of drummers being leaders and also being welcomers and shepherds into the whole part of the instrumentation world. And to celebrate and really get a good view of that, we're going to go with this tune called Blues Delight.
Yeah.
So let's hear from Buhana, Art Blakey.
Yeah, and before we play that, though, I wanted to say Art Blakey, of course, he was a co-founder of this group, the Jazz Messengers.
Exactly.
And the Jazz Messengers really, I don't have documentation on it.
Training ground for young musicians coming up.
Yeah. Over the decades, it was the place where musicians came. They served
apprenticeship, if you can say.
Exactly. And then Art Blakey's goal was to make each one of them really a leader in their own right.
Sure enough did it. Went and came to the Blakey School for a prime example of that whole concept. And numerous others came through. Buhana or Art Blakey, Buhana was his kind of like Muslim name or, Africanized, Muslimized, Islamicized name, however you want to phrase it. But he's an example of one of those musicians who was very much steeped into those type of traditions and other than Western traditions in terms of his personal and spiritual life. Buhana was also strong as heck. I remember one time a musician recounted the fact that there was a lock or something, couldn't get up. Buhana with his bare hands came and broke the lock with his bare hands and, just like crushed it. Massive, strong hands and everything as a drummer. Truly an incredible cat.
Okay, and we know too, he started the Jazz Messengers, I think, in the beginning with Horace Silver.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got people like Bobby Timmons on piano coming through there, Lee Morgan.
Yes.
Wayne Shorter, Freddie Hubbard. I don't know, almost everyone.
Yeah.
Hank Mobley.
a legendary cavalcade of musicians that come through, and a lot of the people who played with Blakey were poached by infamous Miles Davis. Famous and infamous in the same time, the Prince of Darkness.
That's right.
And we're not naming him that. That's what he's been known as. So, Art Blakey has provided a treasure trove of talented people for many folks in the business, and certainly taught them the art of leadership in the musical style that we know as jazz.
And he's kind of stayed true to that whole, hard bop, post bop, straight ahead kind of jazz music. And I never really known him to do sort of like an electric album or any kind of a fusion type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He just stayed steady with his musical program, throughout his entire career. And he passed away in 1990 had lung cancer. But he did live a very productive life. I think he's age 71 when he passed away. But yeah, we're going to hear this piece, like you said, Lasana, Boo's Delight.
Boo's Delight.
Referring to himself,
Buhaina.
Buhaina. I think, you were talking about his name. Abdullah ibn Buhaina was his
full
Islamic, Arabic name.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, stage name he went by Art Blakey.
Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. Boo's Delight.
Right. Boo's Delight from Bohemian's Delight, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. That came out in 1963. 1963, we got Jimmy Merritt on the bass, Art Blakey, of course, on the drums, Cedar Walton on piano, Wayne Shorter on tenor saxophone, Curtis Fuller doing the trombone there, and Freddie Hubbard on the trumpet. Bohemian's Delight. And I want to say, Lasana, that that particular song was actually covered by Doug Karn, Doug and Gene Karn.
Really, they did that one?
And they called it Power and Glory.
Okay.
It's Power and Glory, and it's on the is it Revelation? Yeah, Revelation album that they did. So check that out.
Those two are always a revelation on One Love, One Another.
And really, in the same breath that you mentioned Art Blakey, you've got to talk about Max Roach. Max Roach,
without a doubt.
Yeah, being a pioneering drummer, really one of the pioneering drummers going back to bebop with Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk and Bud Powell, Charles Mingus. We have in that cadre of musicians, we have Max Roach, who was a leader. In addition to being a sideman, was a leader in his own right, and really came to represent one of the artists of highest, political consciousness, really, who was involved deliberately on an artistic level in the movement for racial equality, for liberation of Black people, for civil rights. Max Roach is a person, that was highly affiliated with that whole movement and experience.
Mm-hmm.
What else can we say about Max Roach? Just that
we can say also that Max was a significant part of the movement because he was one of the musicians who really was about bringing forth an awareness of Africa, for one. Did some recordings with the Aerogen on Nigeria, kind of in conjunction with Sonny Rollins on an earlier piece. And also, he always was a significant and outspoken part of the actual civil rights movement in terms of some of the benefits that he performed at and also some of the causes that he championed for the emancipation of our people in the context of the legal and de jure segregation and the de jure discrimination that was running rampant in this country, which put many of our people in precarious situations.
Mm-hmm.
And Max was definitely against that. And along with his then wife, Abby Lincoln, they did a number of albums that protested it. Abby Lincoln's The People Within Me, which featured Max on it heavily, and just some other pieces where they were talking out about the various struggles that folks had to go through. He
particularly
also did
that piece
with, Oscar Brown Jr. in addition to that.
Yeah, and together with Oscar Brown Jr., at least from a compositional standpoint, and with Abby Lincoln, that We Insist album that features Abby Lincoln on vocals. That's one of the go-to pieces when people start talking about protest music or music of consciousness within the so-called jazz idiom. The We Insist, Freedom Now suite.
Exactly. Freedom Now Speak is absolutely one of the high points in the critical compositions that was made that really ushered in a guidepost, if you will, to how to achieve liberation through music and set a standard for others to follow in that tradition.
And he had, so many recordings as a leader or, as a co-leader, particularly as a co-leader with Clifford Brown.
Oh, yes. The magnificent Clifford Brown.
Right. Who passed away at a young age, but made a significant impact on the music and really created the foundation, I think, as we might have said before, for artists such as Lee Morgan and other trumpeters that came to follow. As a side musician, and being a part of the bebop area, he worked with Dizzy Gillespie, with Charlie Parker. He also can be heard on recordings with Randy Weston, Charles Mingus, Coleman Hawkins, Duke Ellington, Miles Davis even. And we just want to go ahead and go to some of this music by Max Roach, certainly somebody that is worth exploring. And this particular piece is one that it does feature a little bit of Abbey Lincoln's vocals. It's called Bittersweet. Well, I'm sorry, it's called Garvey's Ghost, and it's on the recording Bittersweet off the Impulse label, and that was released in 1961. So this is Garvey's Ghost. Okay, Garvey's Ghost. And I just have to presume that he's referring to Marcus Garvey, founder of the UNI.
Oh, he is. Unquestionably, he is talking about Marcus Mosiah Garvey because the type of political and social and cultural thing that Max was on, he could only be talking about Marcus Garvey.
Yeah. And there's an interesting film. I don't know whether you've seen it. It's called The Drum Also Waltzes. It's a documentary on Max Roach, done
I
recently.
meant to see that. I missed it. I hadn't had a chance to see it yet. Yeah.
I think it's
I
something.
think it was on PBS, wasn't it?
That's right. And
Yeah.
I think you can still get it like online at pbs.com.
I'll probably get a physical copy because I found out I had a prescription to PBS at one point, and they would actually mail physical copies of the thing when I sent it. So I always try and get physical.
So check that out. And in there, he even speaks specifically of how, he just intentionally, during his performances, at his recordings, all that, he would intentionally bring up kind of consciousness and political issues and things, and how the record label and other promoters, especially at his live performances, were trying to discourage him and ask him to be quiet because people coming here for the music and not to hear him make political speeches. Anyway, on that piece,
he was coming off of the tail end of all that McCarthy stuff too, in terms of having to really rise up and do that, where they were really whitelisting a lot of musicians in terms of, especially in our community, who were doing stuff. Robeson was an example of that. Hazel Scott, a whole plethora of folks who really had flourishing careers got tarred by that whole commie brush, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
That, was really put out there by the vile and execrable Joseph McCarthy, who's reminiscent of some other figures who are running around right now, who will go unmentioned.
Well, on that, we heard the vocals of Abby Lincoln, the trumpet of Booker Little, the trombone of Julian Priester, the saxophone of Clifford Jordan, the piano of Mal Waldron. And Mal Waldron was a pianist who composed the piece that was covered by John Coltrane, Soul Eyes. And then Max Roach on drums. Eric Dolphy was there on either flute, alto saxophone, or bass clarinet. Carlos Totico Eugenio on cowbell, so you heard him banging that.
Yeah.
And Carlos Patato was on the congas, and Art Davis on the bass off the Impulse record. Max Roach. We're going to keep it moving, talking about legendary drummers. I know, Lasana, you have definitely picked what I would call maybe not necessarily the next in line, because I wouldn't put him in a line, but the next logical choice in these selections of great drummers.
Absolutely. And we're talking about this man out of Boston, this man who came on and joined a band at 17 years old. He was so
acclaimed. You say the band. Now, which band are we talking about?
Of course, our good friend, Mr. Miles Davis's band.
The second
great combo that he put together.
Yeah.
According to that, with Wayne Shorter and all those folks. Tony was in that band. Tony was also one of those who didn't go for Miles' stuff. Miles did something, and Tony said he never played with him again and quit it. And other people would come and ask Tony to play with him. He said, who's on it? Miles doing it? He would refer other people rather than go play with Miles after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was firm and everything. You violate certain stuff with Tony, he's done with it. But Tony, also established a great musical tradition that brought other people out of there, such as Terry Lynn Carrington and everything. She's also out of the Boston area, and just held a standard for those who came to the rhythm of the drum. And so one tune that was really significant that we're going to get a listen to is a tune that was done by Tony, but also at one point Wynton Marsalis as well. It's called Sister Cheryl.
And you know who else did that too? I think Terry Lynn Carrington has covered that. And also Sonny Sumter. Sonny Sumter, the vocalist who is also executive director of the DC Jazz Festival.
Yes.
On her, I think her second album, when she was a recording and performing artist, she sings Sister Cheryl. It's a very nice version of that piece. I want to say too that Tony Williams was also kind of like a jazz rock fusion pioneer as well. Once he left,
he was.
Yeah, once he left the Miles Davis quintet, that dissolved. You know, when you go to some of his own recordings under his name, you get that kind of jazz rock experience.
Right. He definitely pioneered a lot of that. Even inspired people like some of the folks in Weather Report, because he actually played with a few of them and other combinations.
Yeah.
And his drumming style influenced them to, take their explorations to the levels and the directions that they did.
And so, of course, he recorded heavily with Miles Davis, but also extensively with Herbie Hancock, with Sonny Rollins, even McCoy Tyner. In fact, the first time I heard Tony Williams on purpose, was actually on a Herbie Hancock piece, Mr. Hands.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Hands. I got that. Don Pullen, Wynton Marsalis. We can go on and on. Joe Henderson. He was very in demand. Unfortunately, he passed away at a young age, just 51 years old, as a result of, I guess, the consequences or complications to what was supposed to be a relatively simple and benign medical procedure that
wasn't so simple, and obviously wasn't that benign that he couldn't survive it.
So we're going to go now, Lasana, to this piece you talked about, Sister Cheryl, right?
Sister Cheryl by my legendary Tony Williams, drum extraordinary. Sister Cheryl by the great Tony Williams. An example of the skill and virtuosity that he applies with his rhythmic approach to the music and also his employment of some very talented sidemen who just make that tune soar in a way that not too many people can. Took you to another level, didn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's got that feeling to it. It takes you, picks you up, it takes you somewhere, you know what I mean? It's just, and you heard that trumpet there. That was Wallace Roney, who is like a Miles Davis,
disciple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think Miles Davis actually mentored Wallace Roney as much as Wallace Roney just was influenced by Miles Davis, then came to Miles Davis's attention. And then I think Miles Davis, associated himself with Wallace Roney, and people mistakenly thought that somehow he taught Wallace Roney, but I don't think that was the case. And Wallace Roney, of course, coming out of Howard University.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Bobby Hutcherson was on vibes, Mulgrew Miller on the piano.
Incredible cast of characters.
Yeah, and guess who was on bass?
Ron, of course it was Ron.
Ron Carter.
And look, Donald Harrison was on alto.
Donald Harrison on alto. So, that's the kind of company he was keeping. Tony Williams, man, and you explore Tony Williams, you're going to really hear some of the best of music out there and a variety of different things. So I really appreciate that's a piece I'm so glad to hear again. And speaking of Tony Williams, of course, one of the next drummers that you wind up talking about is going to be Terry Lynn Carrington, as you mentioned, who was very influenced, a great appreciator of Tony Williams. Terry Lynn Carrington is somebody I wanted to include because as a contemporary living jazz musician, she is someone that, you can check out live in person, someone whose works, are ready available to you and
carries on the tradition of the others who came before her in a very strong fashion.
Yeah, carries on the tradition and then is very creatively, I tell you, what I like about Terry Lynn Carrington, one of the things anyway, she really came to my attention fully when she did that piece called Mosaic. And Mosaic featured strictly and only all women instrumentalists and vocalists. And that was something I wasn't aware had ever been done before. And it's so beautiful. So many great pieces on there. So many people. Dee Dee Bridgewater is on there and Nona Hendrix. But it's not just the vocalists. It's also the musicians. And Terry Lynn Carrington is obviously someone who is, concerned about political issues, social justice. She seems to always be trying to incorporate these ideas and concepts in her work. And then not only that, but bringing on new artists, and particularly women, but not just women, but new artists on the scene and being a mentor. So in terms of the music today and the music that will be, in close reach in the future, I think we have to applaud Terry Lynn Carrington and really explore her music.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go to this. This is actually a piece from Terry Lynn Carrington, one of her early recordings. As a matter of fact, it might have been her debut. I'll try to check that out. But we have a number of great artists on this one. It's called Witch Hunt. It's from her album, Jazz is the Spirit. All right, Witch Hunt. Terry Lynn Carrington from Jazz is a spirit, and some interesting people on that album. A number of people, including Herbie Hancock, not on that particular piece, but it was Bob Hurst on the bass. We had Gary Thomas on the saxophone, tenor saxophone. On that piece also, I'm not on that piece, but on the album you have, folks like Terrence Blanchard and Wallace Roney is on there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I picked that one, Lasana, because of the prominence of her drumming.
Yeah.
She has a lot of skill in being nuanced, and doing great accompaniment, but I wanted to actually play something where
it highlighted her strong drumming skills.
Yeah. So she allowed herself to indulge in some drum banging on that one.
Solo action, yeah.
But yeah, Terry Lynn Carrington, and we're gonna keep it moving. I know this guy has got to be one of your favorites.
Oh, well, the thing I liked about this man right here, he's also comes from our Islamic pantheon of jazz musicians, and there's a significant number of them. He comes out of the whole school of the Ahmad Jamals, Yusef Lateef, and that's brother drummer Idris Muhammad from his Power of Soul LP. He came with that wave of folk that we mentioned in the earlier part of the sessions from CTI Records,
yeah,
with Creed Taylor and the crew doing that stuff. And a really nice tune that came out of that was Lauren's Dance. That it's just a beautiful tune, and he really brings it out nicely. So we're going to hear Lauren's Dance, which has Grover and some other people accompanying him in terms of Idris Muhammad's just extensive work history with various.
Now, when you
musicians.
say Grover, you gotta.
Well, when I say Grover, of course, I'm talking about the legendary and too soon departed Grover Washington Jr., who also revolutionized the quote unquote urban / funk jazz type of thing with the tune Mr. Magic a while back in the mid 70s. I think that was 76.
Probably so.
Yeah, Craig's year of notorious happenings in the music world.
Yeah, obviously not all bad, but I think too he was like a session drummer for Prestige, and he appears on a lot of the kind of soul jazz, funky kind of jazz music with all these organists and guitarists, pairings that we've spoken about. He appears often as a drummer in that context. He has a number of recordings under his own name, and of course, being a session musician, you can find him. He's on Pharoah Sanders, quite a few of Pharoah Sanders' recordings, Africa, Shukuru, Journey to the One.
Favorite of mine, yes.
And Jewels of Thought. You can find him on the recording with Shirley Scott, Lonnie Smith, Melvin Sparks, Horace Silver, Sonny Stitt, Stanley Turrentine, Reuben Wilson, and many other people as well. Ahmad Jamal, quite a few things, Andrew Hill. Anyway, Idris Muhammad. Let's check him out.
Lauren's Dance, Idris Muhammad, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, Loran's Dance, Idris Muhammad from Power of Soul, and that's a nice one. You know, when I first heard that, I heard Grover Washington Jr. do it on his Reed Seed
Yes,
album.
it was on Reed Seed.
On
That's
Reed
correct.
Seed, yeah. And this version is very similar, but of course, without the saxophone, instead, trumpet. And I don't know who is on this piece. We should talk about that because we want to know. We got
Give you the insight on the musical chemistry that was involved in terms of putting that sound out.
And that was Randy Brecker on the trumpet.
Randy Brecker.
Randy Brecker. Probably one of the better things Randy Brecker did.
Oh yeah.
You know. Randy Brecker.
No shade for all you Brecker Brothers fans out there.
But the thing about the Brecker brothers, I make a distinction. They did come together as a package deal often in these recording situations, but I just found that Michael Brecker was somebody I could never have a musical argument with. He just plays so beautifully. But Randy Brecker, sometimes I don't think, he was good. So I don't want to say he was bad. I just want to say, I don't really see him the same as I see Michael Brecker.
Okay.
But he played very beautifully on that piece. That's why I say it could be one of the nicest things that he did. This happens.
Truly noted, my brother.
Yeah.
Truly noted.
And Ralph McDonald on percussion.
Always good. Always a good choice.
Joe Beck on the guitar, Idris Muhammad on drums, and Gary King on the bass. And we had Bob James popping around there on the key.
Slide in there. Matter of fact, just in terms of an aside to Bob James, he recently did an interview on WGBO, which is the radio station that does the majority of jazz in the New York, New Jersey area. It's actually based in Newark, New Jersey, and it's the major 24-hour ongoing jazz station that's so-called, well, no, they're not even commercial. They actually do the pledge drive just like PFW does, but they've gotten to a level of notoriety and sophistication where they actually supplanted JZZ when they went out of business in Detroit back in the, I want to say, late 80s, early 90s and everything. And then GBO just, kind of came on the scene and is just really doing all types of stuff with jazz cruises. They getting ready to do a jazz thing going to South Africa in September. And so they really took up the mantle in terms of the internationalization of jazz. Plus they got the internet radio thing going.
So that
very
means,
well.
Yeah. So people can, there's a tip, you can check them out online.
That's right.
And that's a good way to explore some of the stations where you can find this music. The next drummer I want to talk about is somebody I think is often overlooked and not really spoken of much. He's still with us, 86 years old, out of Houston, Texas. What I really like about him is how he accompanied these other musicians that he was in a band with, the Jazz Crusaders or the Crusaders. And that's Nesbert Sticks Hooper.
Oh, yeah.
The drummer. And I don't know, as a close listener to their music, I've always been struck about the contribution that he made to elevate things. And for that reason, I had to include him because I always talk about him in conversations about drummers. So I couldn't do that and then exclude him today. He has a number of pieces, recordings under his own name, which began really in 1979 and then followed after that, basically after the demise or disappearance of the Crusaders. This is when he began to really have recordings under his name, which is several, probably about a dozen. But of course, with the Crusaders, he's on everything from 1961 all the way to 2003.
Yeah. And some wonderful pieces too. I always go back to Ballad of Joe Louis and Liz Denal from that Southern Comfort album, which I think was some massive pieces of composition and musicianship by the Crusaders as a whole.
And then as a side musician, you can find him with Bobby Hutcherson, Grant Green, Nancy Wilson, Hugh Masekela, B.B. King, Randy Crawford, Eric Gale, Freddie Hubbard. So he's also done some of that as well. But we're going to go to this piece, It's not under his name. It's an early piece from the Jazz Crusaders, but it's one that really features his drumming, I think. And so that's why I picked it. Of course, it's one of my favorite songs. It has a lot of swing in it and a lot of breath to lift you up, raise your vibration.
Sticking with sticks, y'all.
Freedom Sound. Freedom Sound. The
Yeah.
Crusaders. That piece written by Joe Sample.
Who else?
Well, I think they really shared a lot of the writing credits amongst each other, especially at that time.
Yeah, at that time for sure.
We had Stix Hooper,
Mhm.
our drummer of the moment.
Mhm.
Jimmy Bond on bass. We had Joe Sample on the piano and Wilton Felder on the saxophone and
Yes.
Wayne Henderson on trombone, the Jazz
Yes.
Crusaders.
The Jazz Crusaders.
And so check out Stix Hooper. He's got a number of, like I say, about a dozen or so albums under his own name. And of course, he's on all of that Crusaders and Jazz Crusaders stuff. Keeping it moving, we got to go to a special person.
Oh, we got to go to my man who had transcended all types of barriers and genres and mix and came and remix and come up with all types of things. I'm talking about the nominal and normative Norman Connors. He took some things that was out of the box and came and blended them and made it normal so that everybody could get to it. And that was the magic of Norman Connors. Everything from music that had a R&B tinge to it, which he did a lot of, and he was one of those who was able to transcend and kind of skate on the edge in that disco era. But he also had some really gems during that period also that were definitely jazz based and jazz gratified it and grounded.
Yeah, he had some people, I mean, really great jazz musicians that I think enjoyed working with him because of the freedom that they had to make just great music that was
Exactly.
very accessible.
Exactly.
And for a long time, I tell you, I didn't even know as a teenager coming up hearing some Norman Connors that Norman Connors was even a drummer.
Exactly.
Because none of his music, I'm not going to say none, but almost none of his music really is drum heavy. He seemed to be like one of these drummers.
He was one of the
really
drummers who was an orchestrator.
Yeah.
He orchestrated and they basically directed. And it goes back to that concept we were talking about as drummers as leaders and drummers as those who led and gave guidance to the band without necessarily using the drumming prowess to do it, but as a strong heartbeat and strong directive toward the way and the path that they would take to get to the musical journey and destination they were traveling. Norman Connors is that one.
Yeah, and his first recording was with Archie Shepp. That's kind of like hard to believe.
Oh, wow, yeah.
His first recording was with Archie Shepp on Archie Shepp's Magic of Juju. That was in 1967. And of course, he comes out of Philadelphia and did a lot of recording with Buddha Records and Arista and Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
Had a number of hits. One of his big major hits, of course, was with Michael Henderson.
In the concert.
You Are My Starship, man.
And You Are My Starship.
And of course, Phyllis Hyman was a collaborator.
Major collaborator with Norman.
I would say even some of Phyllis Hyman's best work was with Norman Connors.
Absolutely.
Pharoah Sanders, another person who you can find on his recordings. Of course, Dee Dee Bridgewater.
Oh, yeah.
And just a number of great musicians. It's some very enjoyable, soulful, but high quality
music.
Yeah. And I would even say soul tinged jazz music.
That's even better. That sums it up right there, my brother. That's even better.
So what are we going to hear?
We're going to hear the Starship. You Are My Starship.
No, we're not.
We're not doing that one, bro.
No.
Of course we're not. Because it's just, another thing. But, it kept me in mind of starships because it takes you up there. It takes you so high up in the plane, up to the orbit of the sun. So we're going to do Love from the Sun.
Okay, Love from the Sun.
Because the starship took us to Love from the Sun.
All right.
from the sun. There's hope, there's hope, there's hope for everyone. Love from the sun.
Love from the sun.
Love from the sun. We took the starship there, it took us around the sun, and we found the love of the sun.
Yeah, and that was nice and so beautiful.
With
It's
Dee
like
Bridgewater giving that wonderful
man.
vocal.
Sounds so great. With Dee Bridgewater on that piece. Who do we have? I don't know. I can't tell you all the people that we had because I don't know who was playing on that particular album or not. But I'll tell you who was, on that particular song. On that album, though, we have Buster Williams on bass, so he had to be up in there doing something.
One of the more prolific ones, yeah.
Najee Allen Gooms.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Najee.
Yes.
Herbie Hancock is on that album as well.
Uh-huh.
And Hubert Laws on flute. Carlos Garnett is on that album.
And it looks like, also Gary Bartz.
Gary Bartz, Eddie Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the caliber, man, of people that...
and he was always able to pull together to do some production on with.
It was just like an all-star cast of some of the greatest vocalists, instrumentalists, all put together to make some of the most beautiful but yet accessible, soul-tinged jazz music.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll go with soul tinged jazz. That's what you mean.
So definitely, we encourage you got to check Norman Connors out. Hopefully he'll come out with something again soon because it has been a while. I think the last recording that he did seems to be maybe in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a number of years. But, I did see something somewhere in an interview where he spoke about possibly, coming out with some new music. I haven't seen it, but anyway, there's plenty of old music for us to explore. Let's keep it moving. When it comes to drummers, percussionists, one of the people that, again, may not be on a household name exactly, but someone who's been around for a number of years, put out a lot of music, is very prolific, actually, and creative. Not just a drummer, but someone who plays all manner of kinds of percussion instruments and does a lot of vocalization as well, who is a band leader and associate of the AACM in Chicago, the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians. As an artist within that context, he's really put out some interesting work. Some of it difficult to find, and definitely a treasure and worth the effort. We're talking about Khalil El-Zabar.
Ah, yes.
And Khalil El-Zabar, the first time he came to my attention was with a song that's on this album, the same album of the song that we're going to play. He's age 71, so he's getting up a little bit. One of our elders, certainly somebody we want to give their flowers while they're still here and alive and working with us.
Absolutely.
He has a group called the Ethnic Heritage Ensemble that has various members, as well as the Ritual Trio and a quartet. He's been a sideman for David Murray and Wadada Leo Smith, the trumpet player, another one of our elders. And this piece that we want to go to is from a recording called Africa and the Blues. That's N''DA, and the Blues, which on the album actually features even Pharoah Sanders makes a contribution on that piece. But this is called Miles's Mode, a piece that you might recognize, Khalil El-Jabbar Ritual Trio. Miles Mode, Khalil El-Zabar's Ritual Trio, and on that piece, we had Malachi Favors on the bass, Khalil El-Zabar on drums and percussion, Ari Brown on the saxophones, and yeah, that's what we had. Very swinging pieces. Actually, you can find it on Coltrane's album called what's the album called? It's called what? Quartet or something.
Yeah, Coltrane Quartet, John Coltrane Quartet, I believe.
Right. So Khalil El-Zabar, check him out. I will say this too. You know, I've seen him a few times, and the last time I saw him, actually, he even had Dwight Tribble was providing the vocals. So that was,
yeah, that's a treat. That brother can sing.
And they had that tribute that they were doing to Don Cherry, the sort of cornetist, Don Cherry. And so we are going to. Is that it? We got to the bottom of it. Yeah, we got through it. So that's 8 drummers that you can look up, you can explore, you can check out, you can avail yourself of their music and at various platforms. And of course, many of them still living. You can look them up, find their schedules, and see if you can see them live in person.
Absolutely.
So that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Till next time.
All right. Remember, talk spirit jazz.